Last week, I said this. Why would I regret it? I don't think anyone would regret it. In fact, can you just hold off for a week? I would just like to ask all the people who are watching this if you would like to pop in the comment section, no regrets, if you happen to have stumbled across my beyond normal fantasies. And while I was expecting some of you not so good people to comment with no regrets, to my surprise, I'm convinced that 98% of the people who subscribe on this channel are nothing but a bunch of debauched, deranged and mentally depraved individuals. You all make me, what's the word? Proud of you. Cheers. No regrets. Anywho. While I am not particularly a religious person, I do know that Christmas is first and foremost a religious holiday. Just as Christians should be respectful of all other faiths, including those with no faith, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, atheists and others should respect Christian beliefs. It does not mean you have to share my beliefs, and I certainly should not impose my beliefs on those who believe differently. Tolerance is a good thing, but intolerance, and especially tolerance of intolerance, are wrong. The decision by schools here in Australia and probably around the world to remove all religious references from a rendition of Silent Night, as sung by 5th graders, was a ridiculous example of offending the many to satisfy what a politically correct minority in the form of town and school leaders thought might offend a few. It was an absurd decision. Silent Night is a beautiful, iconic song, and it is religious. It celebrates the birth of Jesus. If the school chose not to have the 5th graders sing it, that would be fine, though it would deprive students of one of Christianity's great hymns. The pretension of celebrating the holiday without actually doing so makes a mockery of the meaning of Christmas, and it reflects poorly on the towns and school leaders. Silent Night does not have the same meaning when words and phrases like Holy Infant, Christ the Saviour, and Jesus, Lord, at thy birth are replaced. There is no reason that children should feel embarrassed about their religion. Once we start apologising for our beliefs, where does it end? Just last week, a Melbourne childcare centre has been accused of taking the Christmas out of Christmas after making the decision to replace Santa with a sustainability pirate.
In past years, Santa has made a stop at this Kensington Community Childcare Centre, but this Christmas he's been struck off the list. Instead, the big man in red will be replaced by a sustainability pirate. The centre has defended the move, saying its priority is ensuring everyone feels welcome, regardless of their religion, cultural or spiritual beliefs. The pirate was chosen to inspire and teach the children after the centre received new grants for environmental projects. The party is due to be held on Friday.
Oh, a pirate. Someone who attacks and steals and commits acts of violence, as opposed to a legendary figure who is said to bring gifts to the homes of well-behaved children. But it seems to be a trend in Melbourne, with one of the city's biggest shopping centre precincts also dumping traditional Christmas celebrations in favour of a sustainability theme. Rather than the traditional Santa sporting his famous red coat and boots while greeting children in the shopping strip, summer Santa be decked out in attire from local retailers to reflect our diverse community when it hits our iconic precinct streets. What utter trash. Whoever comes up with this crap is an absolute scumbag. Ooh, oh, no wonder I'm going to drink. Yes, political correctness has gone mad. English is a straightforward language with an estimated 1 million words. English is the most verbally inclusive language in the world. We should be able to express ourselves clearly and avoid the confusion of what George Orwell called newspeak and doublethink. When we refer to acts of terrorism as man-caused disasters, we diminish the horror of the killings and dishonour the victims. When we refer to shootings as workplace violence, it misled the public about the rantings of Major Nidal Hassan, who shouted Allah Akbar, which is God is great, as he shot and killed 13 unarmed people.
In the 3 years since, The attack at Fort Hood in Texas has been forgotten by many, but not by the victims. The people in the Army processing room that day who say they have been forgotten and neglected too. This is what they experienced, terror and chaos that has not been seen publicly until tonight in new footage obtained by ABC News, taken moments after the carnage ended.
Everyone is scrambling. It's chaos.
A few seconds after he started shooting is when I took a round to the chest.
There was a lot of heroes that day. Heroes that stayed on scene, that rendered first aid to the other victims.
13 people killed, including a pregnant soldier, and 32 shot, none of whom received the Purple Heart or any of the additional veterans' medical and financial benefits given those wounded or killed in war, because the military, to the outrage of the victims, has apparently deemed this workplace violence.
Political correctness can be defined as the avoidance of expression that are perceived to exclude, marginalize, or insult specific groups of people. While we should always strive to be respectful of others, the perpetual use of political correct words and phrases risks costing us our moral sense. Political correctness can assume different forms. It can be so ridiculous as to be humorous. It can be so disingenuous as to be deceptive. And it can be uttered with the same naivety as to prove dangerous. When we see the word manhole replaced by maintenance hole, we are more amused than offended. The same is true for silly terms like visually challenged for blind or dysfunctional family for a broken home. Mankind has become humankind. Selective speech sounds better than censorship, but it is the same thing. Such words and terms can also be deceptive or disingenuous. The suggestion that towns here in Australia like Blacktown, Browns Plains, White City, Redfern, Greenacre and the Blue Mountains should undergo a name change, but where are the PC police when I can't step foot into Lakemba, which is just 7 kilometres from where Rudy lives, without being surrounded by police to suggest that my presence is not welcomed?
As soon as we arrived in Lakemba, things were tense. There were heads turning, people coming out of shops to look at us and find out what we were doing. Men started yelling in Arabic across the street at us. I hadn't even been in Lakemba 10 minutes before someone had tipped off the media and they came running to combat me and tell me this was a perfectly safe area and I had nothing and no reason to be there. Almost immediately, the media's story was proven to be wrong. As we went to go for a walk to the local mosque, a very high-ranked police officer came up to me and begged with me, do not go there.
Southern, is it?
Speaking.
Inspector Rick Ages from Campsie Police.
Yep.
I've been informed that you're intending to attending the Lakemba Mosque, is that correct?
I actually have no intentions of attending. I was just planning on walking through the streets and seeing how the culture was here.
Yes?
Yep.
Are you satisfied with that?
Yep.
So where do you intend on walking to now?
I was just going to walk out and check how the mosque was.
Check where the mosque was?
Yep. Would I not be allowed to attend if I wanted to?
I've got grave concerns that you may cause an imminent breach of the peace down there, so I'm asking you not to attend.
Why would I cause a breach of the peace?
Because it's highly religious down there.
So would it be me causing a breach of the peace or would it be the people there?
Well, your presence may cause them to be, be offensive and be objective to your attending there.
And so that would be them being offended by me.
Can you not interview me? The local community walk around here without any fear. I walk around here without any fear.
Right, but I'm a critic of Islam.
Yes.
So I can't be in this multicultural because my culture is allowed to have free speech and criticize Islam.
I understand you have your own beliefs and you're allowed to have your own beliefs. I have no issue with that. I'm asking you not to attend down there because I have a fear that you may cause an imminent breach of the peace. In doing so, you may commit an offence.
Am I allowed to walk through the area?
I'm asking you not to go down the Howden Street.
You're asking me, but do I have the legal right to walk down this area?
At this point in time, no.
I know you're walking away, but I would like to do some interviews. Would I be allowed to do interviews?
No, you're not welcome in there.
No, I'm not. No, just to do interviews on the street. Am I allowed to?
No.
Why not?
Because I'm asking you not to.
Would I be allowed? Okay, no cameras, nothing. Would I be allowed to talk to people and criticize Islam?
No.
Why?
Because I'm telling you, no, you're committing an offence. Why do you need to do it here?
Because this is a highly Islamic area.
What questions are you intend asking?
could I not talk to people and criticize
What
Islam?
question? Why do you want to? Why do you want to criticise Islam? Like I said, if you're inside, I have fear that you're going to cause a breach of the peace.
No, you fear people will be offended by me.
No, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
And you're committing a breach of the peace. I've given you that warning. And if you do that, you may be breaking the law. Do you understand that?
Yep, I understand it. I perfectly understand. As far as I'm concerned, you have Sharia law here.
PC has become so ludicrous that most people no longer die when they stop breathing. They just pass away. Pass to where? Terrorists are now known as either radicals, perpetrators, militants, criminals, and assailants. Everything but the terrorists that they actually are. Such euphemisms are misleading. They serve to downplay the war on terror. Other examples include before Christ, BC, is now before Common Era, and AD is now Common Era, which are more appropriate. By whose terms? Miss and Mrs., Madame and Mademoiselle, Frau and Fräulein, and Senora and Senorita would be banned as not to cause offence. Spotted Dick, a classic English dessert, has been renamed to Spotted Richard after a UK council boss feared the original name might cause offence. Easter eggs are now spring spheres, brainstorming is now thought showers, and kids can't hug one another or have best friends. And if your child wants to invite a couple of their friends from class to their birthday party, they now have to invite everyone. We can't advertise for reliable and hard-working applicants as it could be offensive to the unreliable and lazy people. Here in Australia in 2007, Santa Claus in Sydney were banned from saying ho, ho, ho. Their employer, the recruitment firm Weststaff that supplies hundreds of Santas across Australia, allegedly told all trainees that ho, ho, ho could frighten children and would be derogatory to women. Why? Because ho, ho, ho is too close to the American, not Australian, mind you, slang for prostitute. And Melbourne trials female figures on pedestrian crossings to reduce unconscious bias. And finally, Aussie soldiers are banned from using our very unique slang phrase of "G'day mate" around the US Marines. Why? Because it can lead to confusion on the battlefield. Whose rights are being violated when Christmas trees become holiday trees? Whose rights are being violated when nativity scenes are prohibited, when children are forbidden from acting out Christmas plays, or when Christmas carols are robbed of their proper lyrics? It is true that Christmas has become commercialised, seemingly forgotten amid the hustle and bustle has been the religious meaning of the day. From the stampede of stores on Boxing Day to last-minute purchases on Christmas Eve, the airwaves and newspapers are filled with stories as how much money consumers are spending this year versus last year. But no matter the crassness, this period is also filled with joy and laughter. While wars have been fought over religions for centuries and Christians and others are still persecuted, the inherent message of Christianity is one of peace, love and goodwill, of justice, righteousness and forgiveness. These are attributes worth celebrating, not denying. Christians should persist in using words that invoke Christ at this time of year. A Christmas tree is not a holiday tree. This is a holiday season, but it is a holiday season because of the celebration of Christ's birth. Merry Christmas is a jubilant greeting invoking images of joy and wonder. There is no reason to avoid its usage or to whisper Merry Christmas shyly because of shame or surreptitiously for fear the thought police might whisk you off to prison. As a nation and as individuals, and as long as we are respectful, we are far better served with honesty and straight talk rather than hiding behind a facade of political correctness. A lot of good people you meet right around the country just shake their heads at this and say, how can we allow this nonsense to continue? But you good people need to speak up and we need to stare this down because this is a significant movement. There are people making a fortune out of all this garbage. The thing is, if we don't take a stand against political correctness, the lefties are going to get their way and succeed in controlling us. They will do it with nothing more than nasty words and name calling. In other words, we will be allowing them to control us with their immaturity. This is why it is so important that we take a stand against political correctness. We need to point out its hypocrisy whenever we see it. We also need to be willing to be labelled as any type of ist that the PC police want to use. If we allow fear to rule us, we will end up losing our rights. Fortunately, mainstream Aussies, Krauts, Yanks, Poms, Frogs, Canucks, and whatever banter term we use, we are fed up with this, and the silent majority is taking a stand. Many, like myself, are finding their voice and speaking out against this insidious insanity. We too must take a stand, declaring that this country and your country was established on the freedom, and that the PC police have no authority to take that freedom away from us. If we don't, they will keep pushing until we lose that freedom. I like reading your comments in some of my downtime, and particularly like showing the great man your cheers Rudy on the sign off. He's still confused how you all know him. Bless his little Austrian heart. Merry Christmas everyone, and if you don't celebrate Christmas the way I do, that's okay. I promise I won't interfere in the way your culture celebrates whatever it is that you want to celebrate. I welcome it. I'm Gerald Pauschmann for The Point TV. Cheers, Rudy.